Transport Minister Fikile Mbalula held a webinar on Sunday to discuss critical issues affecting the taxi industry. Mbalula was joined by various leaders in the industry and other experts to discuss formalization, regulation and unifying the taxi industry. Joining me now to talk about the outcomes and the resolutions is Santaco President Taaibosch and the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, Dr. Mathetha Mokonyama. Gentlemen, good evening and thank you for your time tonight.
Tabo, and good evening to your viewers.
Is the taxi industry in Taaibosch ready to talk about even disincentives, accountability, or economic emancipation? And do you have the leadership that is strong enough to drive that program? Do you have the unity that is required in the sector for everyone to have a buy-in into that kind of a program?
Tabo, let me tell you, the taxi industry has been more than ready. And as I'm talking to you, there is this huge eagerness looking into the Lekgotla and also in anticipation of what would the outcome of the Lekgotla be. But most importantly, that taxi industry is looking into a situation where it will, at long last, receive what we call regulatory powers to be able to limitedly be able to regulate the industry. We are looking forward to that, Tabo. It's been a long time that the taxi industry's name has been dragged in the mud, and not mistakenly so, but because of the things that have been happening within the taxi industry, in our driving, the manner in which we are driving, our behavior. So all those things have come forward, and we believe that the time is very right now for the taxi industry to become lawful and law-abiding citizens in a very serious way in the country.
All right. Dr. Mokonyama, when the minister or when the department, shall I say, speaks about the professionalized and regulated taxi industry, they use words like formalized, they use words like effectively regulated and truly empowered through things, for example, like a government subsidy. Is there a common understanding, do you think, amongst the players in the sector of what this professionalized and regulated industry looks like? And are you convinced that they are all convinced that professionalism is the way to go?
No, good evening, Tabo, once more. I think you're spot on in terms of understanding, being on the same page. The reason why the minister essentially wants to have these sessions, podcasts and so forth, is so that everyone is on the same page. And if that doesn't happen, then we run the risk of going back to where we come from or where we are currently. So there's need for very strong change management, capability to help move the what we call the taxi industry forward. Not everyone has the same intentions in the industry. Some are more progressive than others. But the need for leadership to pull everyone together is quite essential, and Santaco can play a very important role in that regard, because you need very strong program management capacity and to actually show the members why the change is needed, so that it's very obvious to everyone that change is indeed needed.
Now, Dr. Taaibosch, you've been, of course, as Santaco, the organization, around since 2001. Map for us some of the things and the progress that you have made, particularly around bringing unity and leadership to the sector.
Tabo, and I hope that we all understand that when we talk about unity, it will not be achieved overnight. But I must indicate that for the 19 years that we've been there, we've been able to unite the taxi industry under the leadership of Santaco, we have been able to even reduce the level of violence within the country. But I can indicate to you that unity is something that is prevailing within the taxi industry. And unfortunately, that I think we are going to delve into some of these things. The taxi industry has never had the powers to deal with its issues that could be supported by governments, particularly on issues that relate to discipline within the industry.
Yeah.
But I can indicate that we have been and we appreciate the support that government has been giving all these years.
Now, one would say, having said that, Taaibosch, why is it you and I mean, as early as earlier on in the year, around August, we were talking about the fight or the competition that still exists for routes and talking about the poor management of that particular process with Santaco being in place?
Thabo, I think if you hear me adequately, I'm saying Santaco can, for instance, if Thabo has transgressed, we can take a division, an association can take a division, association A can take a division to suspend Thabo. But nothing in law prohibits Thabo to go and join the association next door. Now, we believe that if those things could be created which gives Santaco the teeth really to bite, it will end the confusion. It will end also the kind of lawlessness that is happening, and even strengthen the discipline that will have been taken by the structures underneath Santaco.
Right. Dr. Mokonyama, what do you make of what Taaibosch is saying? I mean, there's this sense also coming out of this Lekgotla that there needs to be some binding provisions in law that are put in place, and there needs to be the structure that is empowered by legislature to be almost the overarching governing body of the taxi industry, almost as if that would be the silver bullet that would assist, I suppose, in the whole issues that are plaguing the taxi industry.
Well, we were talking the taxi industry, but that is supposed to be the case for the entire transport industry. If we don't get the ecosystem of the transport industry right, then chances are we are not going to get it right with the taxi industry as well. I mean, if you look at the numbers, right, we estimate, for example, that a typical taxi, they're already subsidized I mean, in the bigger scheme of things, about 2 rand a passenger. A bus is subsidized, or a bus passenger is subsidized around 20 rand. You look at how train, you're probably talking about over 90 rand per passenger trip. Now, you ask yourself, what is the rationale behind all of this? Now, without sorting out that ecosystem and saying this is why we're doing what we're doing, chances are we are going to get it, wrong. So we're going to confuse the transport system. So we need to agree on what success, what performance of the transport system means, and how the minibus taxis, which is just a technology, comes into the ecosystem itself.
Now, Dr. Taaibosch, the minister talking about disincentives, a big word that he brings about during this Lekgotla, where he says you could look at various measures, maybe more penalties, impounding of vehicles, suspension of driver's licenses for those who are operating outside of the bounds of the law. Is this accepted in the taxi industry?
Let me tell you, Thabo, it is very much accepted, but it is in 2 ways. It should be an incentive for those who are doing good, and particularly I'm referring to employees within the taxi industry. And also, those employees that are doing good, they should be incentivized. Incentivized when they are doing good, and when they are doing wrong, they should be disincentivized in all ways of ensuring that you are building them, you are making sure that they understand that they are at work and that they need to be disciplined and that they need to respect also the rules of the road in the country.
All right, then.
So it will definitely be welcome. That's what we have been looking for many years, and we believe that this industry could have been changed if we had followed the resolutions that was taken at the National Taxi Task Team in 1996, and which the recommendations have been approved by the cabinet during that year. If those things had been put into practice, I think we would have been very far now, would be having a very disciplined industry like any other employment which is taking place anywhere in the country.
All right, that's the president of Santaco there, Philip Taaibosch, as well as from the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, Dr. Mathetha Mokonyama. Gentlemen, I appreciate your time. Thank you very much for joining us.